Meanwhile, the new Japanese government has caught wind of this bloody tournament among the samurai. Home Minister Okubo convenes a meeting of the Genroin, Senate. They learn that armed Shizoku, former samurai, have massed at Kyoto's Tenryuji Temple, and that the mastermind behind the event possesses immense financial backing. Hisoka argues that if these individuals pool such massive funds, they will undoubtedly pose a grave threat to the nation. He proposes launching an immediate investigation. However, his proposal is met with opposition from the others. They dismiss the Shizoku as no longer being a threat, considering these warriors to be nothing more than toothless tigers in the modern era. Listening to the debate, Okubo states that the country cannot afford another civil war, which would only sap the nation's strength. As much as they despise these ronin, they realize they have no choice but to investigate the mysterious faction orchestrating the event. Elsewhere, in an attempt to extort information about Shujiro's whereabouts, Bukotsu relentlessly massacres the inhabitants of a local village. Just then, Ukyo suddenly appears and intervenes to stop the bloodshed. Although Ukyo's clan was cast aside by the new government long ago, he still strictly adheres to the Kikuomi family's samurai code. Determined to restore his family's lost glory, he resolutely entered this life and death bloodbath. Blades clash as the two warriors exude overwhelming killing intent. Staring down Bukotsu, Ukyo's mind flashes back to the day his clan was discarded. Facing Ukyo's demands for answers back then, a high-ranking official had coldly informed him that a samurai without a sword is utterly useless, even going so far as to hurl verbal insults at Ukyo. The official mocked that if Ukyo were willing to bow his head, he might consider taking him on as a servant, for the sake of his people. Ukyo had no choice but to swallow his pride and walk away. The Kikuomi clan had been stripped of its former glory, with even their ancestral estate seized by the government. Now, all they have left is the katana in their hands and their samurai dignity.
生きる場所を奪われ、その上この国は誇りすらも売れというのですか。もう十分耐えました。誇りを守るには腹を切るしかございません。菊尾美家は私が必ず再興させる。
Back in the present fight, Ukyo's masterful swordsmanship momentarily gives him the upper hand. However, Bukotsu crazily grabs the razor-sharp blade barehanded and bites off Ukyo's thumb. Meanwhile, Shujiro and Futaba arrive at a war-torn village. There, they encounter other samurai who have lost the will to fight. These broken men simply want to remove their wooden tags and take whatever meager payout they can get just to buy their starving children a decent meal. Gazing at their tormented faces, Shujiro is overcome with a mix of complex emotions.
参加者は化け物みてえに強いしよ。せっかく奪ったキムでも全部取り上げられるしよ。途中で降りることはできない。掟に反すれば殺される。あいつらだってよ。 こんだけ人数がいりゃ襲ってこれねえだろ。なんで殺し合わなきゃいけねえんだ。こんなもんのためによ。俺ただ金が欲しかっただけなんだ。うちのガキにさ、腹いっぱい飯食わしたかっただけなんだよ。
Spotting the organizers' soldiers lurking in the distance, Shujiro tries to stop the samurai from removing their tags, but it is too late. Watching as the soldiers mercilessly gun down the retreating samurai with their rifles, the dormant killing intent deep within Shujiro's soul is completely reawakened. Gripping the hilt of his katana, the icy gaze of Kokushu the manslayer returns to his eyes. Flashing back to the horrors of the war, Shujiro draws his blade and swiftly strikes down the commanding officer before him. All hesitation vanishes from his eyes. His blade is terrifyingly fast, ruthless, and precise. This entire brutal display is silently observed by a man with a terrifying facial scar. Turning to a shell-shocked Futaba, Shujiro quietly confesses the dark truth. This is who he truly used to be. A manslayer forged by the era. A man who only knows how to kill. Meanwhile, in the other village, Bukotsu slowly walks away, carrying Ukyo's severed head in his hands.
Oi.
Back in the war-torn village, Shujiro has single-handedly slaughtered 15 soldiers. However, since his actions do not technically violate the tournament's rules, the bloody game continues. By this point, the elimination toll has reached 192 participants. The wealthy tycoons, secretly pulling the strings, use the escalating carnage as an opportunity to open the second round of betting.
皆様出揃いましたね。では第1の賭けを始めさせていただきます。存分にお楽しみください。
As they continue their journey, Shujiro opens up to Futaba about the history of his martial arts sect and the blood-soaked past that earned him the dreaded moniker, Kokushu the Manslayer. In the annals of Japanese swordsmanship, there exists an ancient and enigmatic school known as Kyohi Ryu. Legend has it that each generation accepts only 8 disciples, and Shujiro was the top disciple of his cohort. The 8 of them had trained together since childhood, spending every waking moment side by side. They were more than fellow apprentices. They were a family bound by life and death. They dreamed of one day donning armor, marching into battle and leaving their mark on history. However, behind the prestige of Kyohi Ryu lurks a brutal ironclad rule. Before the passing of the sect's master, the 8 disciples are forced to fight each other to the death. Only the sole survivor is worthy of inheriting the school's name and becoming its new grandmaster. This dark tradition is framed as a rite of passage, but in reality, it is a twisted blood sacrifice. The moment their master officially announced the rule, the once unbreakable bond among the 8 brothers began to fracture. Silence replaced their former laughter, and their brotherhood instantly turned into a lethal rivalry. Ultimately, the 8 disciples realized there was no escaping it. They had to face their grim destiny. Brothers who had once fought side by side were forced to turn their blades on one another. Amid the tension, only Iroha stared at Shujiro in bewildered despair. Futaba listens in stunned silence, not uttering a single word. As the duo ventures into a gloomy, ominous forest, they are suddenly ambushed by the Yoshida brothers, heavily favored contestants backed by the gambling tycoons. The brothers wield their spears with ferocious speed and shadow-like footwork, but Shujiro remains as steady as a rock, calmly and methodically parrying their onslaught. Realizing they cannot breach Shujiro's defenses head-on, the brothers abruptly shift their target, turning their lethal intent toward the defenseless Futaba. After tumbling down a steep slope, Shujiro notices that their pursuers' footsteps have abruptly stopped. A creeping sense of unease settles over him. The air at the bottom of the slope is thick with the metallic stench of blood, and the ground is littered with cold corpses. He realizes they have likely stumbled right into a fresh ambush. Suddenly, Iroha rushes toward him, taking Shujiro entirely by surprise. Glaring at him, she angrily demands to know why he abandoned her to come down the mountain alone, leaving her to fend for herself. But before she can get an answer, the shadows in the surrounding woods begin to shift, and several figures slowly close in. The Yoshida brothers, along with 2 other samurai, have them boxed in from the front and back. Just as the tension reaches a breaking point and a clash seems imminent, 2 deadly arrows shoot out from the darkness. Blood simultaneously erupts from the throats of both Yoshida brothers. It turns out a 5-man archer squad has formed a hidden arrow alliance, lying in wait here to ambush passing samurai and steal their wooden tags. Seeing Futaba and Iroha thrust into danger once more, a mysterious master archer suddenly reveals himself. His archery skills are utterly unparalleled. Every arrow flies so fast that its trajectory is practically invisible. In a matter of seconds, all 5 ambushing archers drop dead. The master archer, Cam, harbors no hostility toward Shujiro's trio. He calmly states that as long as they protect the young girl, he will never be their enemy. Recognizing Cam's name, Shujiro deduces his origins. He is an Ainu, an indigenous warrior from Hokkaido. In the aftermath of the skirmish, Shujiro loots the wooden tags from the fallen archers, successfully securing the credentials needed to pass the second checkpoint. At this moment, Iroha also makes her intentions clear, resolving to join Shujiro's makeshift squad. Meanwhile, the new Japanese government finally realizes that the situation has spiraled out of control. These ronin, who were previously thought to be living in quiet seclusion, are now butchering each other across the countryside while steadily advancing along a set route straight toward the capital, Tokyo. Intelligence officers speculate that they are likely remnants of the old shogunate plotting an armed rebellion. Okubo knows that if the government continues to turn a blind eye, the consequences will be catastrophic. Consequently, they secretly dispatch the military and intelligence agencies to track down the truth behind this blood-soaked tournament. Before long, Shujiro, Futaba, and Iroha arrive at a remote village, which serves as the tournament's second checkpoint. The gatekeeper here is a man named Kunugi. After inspecting their wooden tags, he clears them to proceed and hands them a special red tag worth 3 standard ones. However, what truly makes Shujiro's blood run cold is that Kunugi seems unnervingly familiar with the Kyohi Ryu school, knowing exactly who Shujiro and Iroha are and where they come from. Back behind the scenes, the wealthy tycoon's gambling ring has crowned its first-round winner. The very first competitor to reach the checkpoint at Sekiyuku is none other than Kyojin Tsuge, the mysterious man who had previously proposed an alliance with Shujiro. The VIPs now prepare to place their bets for the next round. These high-status elites will also relocate to the next vantage point, ensuring they have the best seats in the house for this spectator sport of slaughter. At this very moment, Kyojin Tsuge is already waiting for Shujiro at the village inn, looking as though everything has played out exactly according to his calculations.
鈴鹿峠は何所や戦えへんお嬢ちゃん連れてえらい目に遭うたやろもうそろそろ同盟組みたなるんちゃうかな思ってな
During their meeting, Shujiro brings up the concept of kodoku. It is the symbol of Kyohi Ryu's succession and a brutally sadistic trial. Legend has it that if you place 100 venomous insects into a sealed urn, they will fight and devour each other until only the final survivor, the apex insect, remains. That lone survivor is believed to attain a divine nature, possessing the power to slaughter all living things. Shujiro and Iroha are the surviving insects from that very urn. The ultimate rule of this tournament is identical. Only one person is meant to walk away alive. This is exactly what Shujiro fears, and he hopes to change the trajectory of the game's bloody conclusion.
あんたら共に進んだ者を殺す覚悟はあるか俺には救わなければならない人がいるだがこのまま奴らの好きにさせる気もない
Kyojin finally reveals his true motive for wanting an alliance. He wants to personally uncover the truth behind the kodoku. He explains that unless they fully understand the mastermind's ultimate goal, even if they win, they will still be dancing on the organizer's strings.
奴らの目的が分からへん限りこのまま進んでも手のひらの上で踊らされるだけや
何か企みでもあるのか
同盟を持ちかけたんはそれが理由でもある何をするつもりだ俺らで孤独の正体を探るそのためにある実験をしたい
実験
ま、詳しい話は明日のお楽しみっちゅうことで今日はゆっくり休みや
Shujiro's thoughts are pulled back to the night he fled his sect 10 years ago. He remembers it with crystal clarity as he turned his back on his school and stepped out of the mountain gates. A lone figure blocked his path in the dead of night. It was Gentasai, the sect elder tasked with hunting down traitors. That bone-chilling white-haired swordsman is the very embodiment of Shujiro's nightmares. Iroha also finally tells Shujiro about the bloodbath that took place on the mountain after his escape. Fearing that the secret techniques of Kyohi Ryu would be leaked to the outside world, their master decided to silence the remaining disciples by killing them all. It was their senior martial brother who stepped up to stall the master, buying enough time for the other 6 siblings to escape. After fleeing down the mountain, they had all scattered to start their own separate lives.
幻冬祭から逃げるように生きてきた。すべてはシューニーがあの時逃げたせいだ。
すまなかった。俺はあの時逃げた。 そのせいでお前たちを苦しめた責任から逃げるつもりはない。
At the same time, government intelligence has successfully traced the origins of the firearms used by the samurai. Shockingly, these weapons were smuggled in via British merchant ships. Even more disturbing, the shadow benefactors backing this supply chain are none other than the Big Four Zaibatsu, financial conglomerates that prop up the new government itself. Yet, despite this massive revelation, the true mastermind orchestrating this blood-soaked feast of a tournament has still not shown their face.